a very, very heavy session after hearing so much dignitaries speak on the context of economy, business, opportunity. இது பற்றியெல்லாம் நிறைய கேட்டுட்டோம். பட் திஸ் இஸ் சம்திங் லைக் பேக் டு பேசிக்ஸ். ஆஸ்திரேலியாவில் எப்படி பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ணலாம், சிங்கப்பூரில், துபாயில் இதெல்லாம் நிறையா பார்த்துட்டோம். இங்கே எப்படி பண்ணுறது, இங்கே பண்ணுறதுல என்ன சேலஞ்சஸ் இருக்குது, அதான் வந்து இந்த ஹோல் கான்டெக்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் திஸ் செஷன். எஸ்பெஷலி வென் we are a growing economy. India has the big demographic dividend. Abdin சொல்றாங்க, you have the most number of youngsters. Yesterday I was in one of the college and MBA students, when I was addressing, I was asking, what do you want to become? 60% want to be entrepreneurs. Of that, 40% wanted to be startups. இது வந்து ஒரு big shift from what it was, say, possibly 15 years ago or pre-pandemic era, where all the idea was to just get a job. But okay, with this particular aspiration, I think now we are having the most aspiring of people in the whole economy, the 2030 kind of the range. And to talk more about it, what is that you should be very specific on? Enna focus pannano, edu vandu are the things which you need to really take care. We have two amazing experts. One, Anand Srinivasan sir, a person who needs no introduction. In fact, sir, after your photograph came up on the panel, at least I'm 50% of you. Anand Srinivasan அப்படிங்கிறதுனால நிறைய பேர் கூப்பிட்டு கேட்டாங்க about coming, listening to the session. People wanted to know, even if people who are traveling wanted to know like what you're going to talk, the video recording, things like that. Because you have been one of the very practical, I think one of the very few people who do it in Tamil. Yeah. Tamilல வந்து ரொம்ப சரளமா சிம்பிளா எப்படி how to invest, what is that you have to take care அப்படின்னு. ப்ளஸ் அவரோட அப்ரோச், யூஸ்வலாக அவரோட ஒரு பையன் இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணுறது, டே நீ பண்ணுறது சரியில்லை அப்படின்னு ஒரு அப்பா மாதிரி சொல்கிறதுக்கு ஆனந்த் ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார். தி அதர் சைட் we have from SM Corporation, Satish Nair. Comes from the Munimix family, இல்லைங்களா? Munimix family. I do not know whether, how many people here know about this mixie called Munimix? One of the pioneers in the industry. At a time you were the only one, and possibly ஒரு காலத்தில் மிக்சின்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க, மியூனிமிக்ஸின்னு தான் சொல்லுவாங்க. True. So அது வந்து that was somewhere, and the biggest pride is it is from Coimbatore, and this is one biggest example of a family which had been innovators and something which is part of everyone's kitchen today. Today where the brands which came evolved, but something a local brand. அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it was always Munimix, and we have Satish Nair sir who's into kitchen automation equipments. And it is just not one. The SM Corporation is one of the many companies he runs. And possibly your LinkedIn profile and Google can give you much more information. You have a company called Cosmo.
Cosmos is our brand.
So that is his brand, what he operates. He does kitchen automation. So these two gentlemen are there. Unfortunately, we have other two gentlemen who are unwell. North India is under a big influence of a flu. So they both suddenly became unwell and are not able to travel. But ஒரு சின்ன அட்வான்டேஜ் இருக்குது, எது நடந்தாலும் ஒரு நன்மைக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்கிற மாதிரி. we have more time with Satish and Anand sir today. So without much ado, I just want to get into the main core topic. இந்த கோர் டாப்பிக்கே ஏன் வந்துச்சுன்னா, சார் நிறைய பேர் பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ணுறப்போ இந்த பர்சனல் ஃபினான்ஸ், பிஸ்னஸில் இருக்கிற பணம், இது ரெண்டு பிரிச்சே பார்க்கறது இல்லை. இருக்கிற பணம் எல்லாம் பிஸ்னஸில் தான் வச்சுருக்காங்க. இப்போ நானே வந்து ஏதோ ஒரு கன்சல்டிங், ஐ எம் ஆல்சோ இன்டு த வெரி சேம் டொமைன் ஆஃப் ஃபினான்ஷியல் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட். சார் நீங்கள் என்ன வச்சுருக்கீங்க? என்ன எந்த பணம் இல்லை சார், இருக்கிற பணம் எல்லாம் பிஸ்னஸில் தான் இருக்குது அப்படின்னு வந்து சொல்கிறது தான் வந்து மெஜாரிட்டியாக எல்லா ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ்மேனுக்கு வந்து இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயமா இருக்குது. ஸோ வில் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆஃப் வித் பாசிபிளி ஹேவிங் யுவர் வெரி இனிஷியல் தாட்ஸ். ஐ வில் ஸ்டார்ட் வித் Satish telling like why do you need to separate these both? Why should you have a separate personal finance and something for the business?
A very good evening, and thank you very much for having me in this panel. Firstly, the truth is always sour, and it's always better to be open. Though I come from a very known business family, Munimix, as Mr. Srinivasan rightly said, I personally would like to uh, recognize myself as a self-made person. So I am an independent person. I've built my own business, but I've learned a lot from the mistakes that I grew up with. So the very fact of mixing personal with business was also a big failure for an excellent product line that Minumix was. I would like to take example of Minumix because I grew up with it, and not just Minumix. In the 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of companies never knew how to bifurcate personal finances with business. They always thought whatever you make is all for yourself. But once you understand, an entity is an entity, and a personal finance and a personal expense is or earning is completely different. Only then then you stabilize yourself, then you give value to your business. Otherwise, actually, you don't respect your business. So this is a very great learning that I've learned, and this is our 30th year of business. Probably we survived 30 years, probably primarily because that lesson I learned the hard way.
Okay. So thank you. That is insightful. Because though I'm not a commerce student, commerce bookல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எழுதுனதே வந்து பீட்டர் அண்ட் கோ வேற வேற. அதை உனக்கு நீ புரிஞ்சுக்கணும் அப்படிம்பாங்க. பட் ஐ திங்க் காலேஜ் ஸ்டடீஸ் அது அப்படியே தான் பார்த்துடுறோம். அந்த பீட்டர் அண்ட் கோ வந்து ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் கோ வேற வேற அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதா வெரி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப் ஆஃப் பிஸ்னஸ்.
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் நம்ம ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது எவ்ரி பெனி be it your self, you disassociate yourself from the business. You become an employee of the business. You take a salary. You define your value first. Then you know how much to give it to your company. If you are going to say everything is mine, then you really don't know where to value. That is very important.
Correct.
So this is exactly what your Peter and Co.
Peter and Co. வேற நீ உன்னோட சம்பளம் எடுத்துக்கலன்னா அப்புறம் உன்னை வேல்யூ பண்றது இல்லைன்னு. பியூட்டிஃபுல். பட் லெட் அஸ் ஆல்சோ ஹியர் ஃப்ரம் ஆனந்த் சார், who's just not only into personal finance. In fact, ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் அவர்கிட்ட பேசினதுனால certain things which off the stage which I wanted to discuss பண்றப்பே தெரிஞ்சு, right from macroeconomics to practical finance to business finance to micro economics. I think sir is one person. Sir, unga view on this.
The problem is most entrepreneurs start with zero capital. So they start with the idea. So nobody starts with a lot of money and then get into business. So when you start with zero capital, you beg, borrow, steal to run a company. So your company is always running on a deficit. And so you have cash flow issues. And since you have cash flow issues, you don't want to take out your money. You always postpone taking your money because either there is always somebody has to be paid, some vendor has to be paid, salaries have to be paid, or some staff wants an advance. You're always running behind it. So you're always struggling for cash. So when you're struggling for cash, you are really doing gymnastics in managing cash flow. That's why you don't take out money. So unless you come across that, because for a small businessman, why small businessman, even for a medium scale businessman, every day is a struggle. So he has to look for a client, he has to make margins, he has to keep sales. And if certain amount of sales doesn't happen, he cannot pay salaries, rentals. So the Empa Bonanderi Vardune இருக்கும். So when that is happening, there is no way he is going to take. He'll postpone taking his salary till it becomes a habit of not working without a salary. So this is the problem.
ஸோ உங்கள் சொல்யூஷன் என்ன சார்? நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும்? லைக் சி டு கிவ் அ ஜஸ்ட் பேர்ட்ஸ் ஐ வியூ ஆஃப் BNI ஹியர் இன் கோயம்புத்தூர், இட் இஸ் அரௌண்ட் 40 chapters and it has around 2,000 members. All of them are entrepreneurs, right from a solopreneur-லேருந்து very established businessmen இங்கே இருக்காங்க. ஸோ இது எப்படி பிரிச்சுக்கிறது? ஒன்று, நான் என்ன பண்ணணும்? ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப்பாக இருந்தால் எப்படி நான் இதை ரெண்டு பிரித்து வச்சுக்கிறது? ஒன்று,
ஸ்டார்ட் அப்புங்கிறதே வந்து ஓவர் ஹைப்டு வேர்ல்டு.
இல்லை அப்போ ஒரு ஓகே சோலோப்ரூனர்னு வச்சுக்கலாம்.
So in the startup, now everybody is a startup.
கரெக்ட்
Anybody who starts a new business is a startup.
கரெக்ட்.
So I buy water from the distributor and give it to you. I'm also a startup. So first, let's not overhype the words that startup and all that. So anybody who starts a business first has to have a proof of concept. Right? He has an idea. The idea looks very great on paper. You have to have a proof of concept. And then you have to show a minimum proof of concept when making money. Most of us, what do you think is money will come later, profits will come later. So you have already built up the company to a level to find out there is no profits and you have accumulated losses. So if a business cannot make money in 3 months, it will never make money. Right? Unless you are running a big project where somebody is financing you, you have gone to the public with money and then, so this cash burn, the idea of cash burn itself is a rotten idea. You've seen Baiju implode. Now we are going to see Oyo imploding. Is in the process of imploding. I can say I'm not going to be very popular, but Swiggy is going to be a 2 rupee stock. Zomato will also become a 2 rupee stock. Because what are they doing? They are just கடையிலேருந்து வாங்கி உங்களுக்கு சப்ளை பண்ணுறான். வீட்டுக்கு ஒரு வேலைக்காரன் வச்சுருந்தோம் அன்றைக்கி, அவன் போய் அங்கேருந்து வாங்கிட்டு வந்து கொடுத்துனந்தான். இப்போ it is very difficult to have a full-time employee. So you have a lot of people, graduates who don't have a job. They have a bike. And then you are up and down, you are carrying. The moment the fellow is going to up his demand for salary, Zomato's profits is going to end. The man who founded Zomato has already taken a golden parachute and has jumped out of the plane already, calling it some other name. He's exited the plane. The company is yet to make proper profits. It looks very good. A lot of companies have collapsed. Enron has collapsed. I know big companies which are built on castles of sand will collapse. Because a company is in trouble, where every 6 months they want 10,000 crores. Like Swiggy went public about 2 years back. They have raised 10,000 crores again. Right? If you are a profitable company, why after 6 months in public you want to raise another 10,000 crores? So this concept of startup and cash burn has to end.
இல்ல அது எண்ட் ஆயிடும். பட் இப்போ எங்க மாதிரி என்டர்பிரினர்ஸ் ஆர்டினரி நம்ம பணம் வச்சுட்டு பண்றாங்க.
Cash burn, why it came is because America had a lot of money and Japan had a lot of money. They were printing money and they were keeping the interest rates artificially low at 0%. So somebody like Bill Gates could go and give his stock and take money at 0%, call somebody and give them, say, call himself venture capitalist, give him X amount of money, he'll bet on 10 guys, and then you will do merry-go-round. And the day America's rates went up to 5%, startup money vanished. So let's keep startup hope.
Okay.
Right. Now having come to a sadhana businessman, he has to make a business idea on paper. So first he has to make sure when he's making a business idea on paper, 1 year's salary for his expense, he has to take it and give it to his wife or his mother, whoever. If he is married, to his wife, to his mother, and not dip into it. When I maintain my household cost me 60,000 or 70,000, 70 into 12, 10 lakhs has to be with your mother or your wife. And you cannot ask that money. நம்ம ஊரில் என்ன பண்ணுவோம், பொண்டாட்டி போட்டுருக்க நாயை கூப்பிட்டு கேட்டு அதை கொண்டு போய் மரவாடி கடையில் வைக்கிறது தான் நம்மளோட business startup idea. But if you really want to do a business, you should have accumulated 10 lakhs and put it away with your wife and then start up your business. So capital illama business pandratha first problem. You don't have an idea. You have an idea, you are over enthusiastic or you are forced into being over enthusiastic, you start up without even thinking. And other big thing is our culture does not have a budgeting principle at all. I don't know how many people in this room spend time with their kids and their wife and write out a monthly budget. If you don't write out a monthly budget, you won't even know how much you are spending. So these are the
I think two great insights. ஒன்று, சொந்த பணம் இல்லாமல் பிஸ்னஸ் ஆரம்பிக்காதீங்க. அட்லீஸ்ட் யூ ஷுட் ஹேவ் சம்திங். பேங்க்காரன் பணம் கொடுக்குறான் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஆரம்பிக்கக்கூடாது. ஃப்ரெண்டு யாரோ கொடுக்குறாங்க, ஸ்டார்ட் அப்னா அந்த கிளாமர் வேர்டை நம்பி ஏதோ ஆரம்பிக்காதீங்க. யூ ஷுட் ஹேவ் some capital at least to bank on. In fact, I think this is one of the basic principles of personal finance, personal discipline. That is amazing. Second is on the family budget. Definitely accumulate. After, I think, pandemic, people were talking about 3 months. Sir, I think, is conservative. I think for an India kind of a situation makes lot of sense, because you are not covered in terms of health and other things. In the practice, a state doesn't cover. So I think it is a very practical dimension to tell 6 months வந்து நான் ஒன்றும் கொடுக்காட்டியும் சரி,
இஃப் யூ ஆர் பிஸ்னஸ்மேன், ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு காசு கொடுக்க மாட்டேன்,
காசு கொடுக்க மாட்டேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு முதல்ல அந்த காசை கொடுத்துட்டு தான் பிஸ்னஸே ஆரம்பிக்கணும்.
அண்ட் உங்கள் பொண்டாட்டிக்கு நகையை ஒரு லாக்கரில் சைன் பண்ணி லாக்கர் தூக்கி சாவியை யார்ட்டையாவது கொடுத்துருங்க, அது பக்கம்
ஆமாம், நகையெல்லாம் வந்து வாங்கக்கூடாது அப்படின்னு. சார், இப்போ சார் இந்த ஆங்கிள் சொல்கிறாரு, பட் ப்ராக்டிக்கலாக பார்க்குறப்போ is it possible? Do you have any counter views on how to really manage this? See, because இன்னைக்கு வந்து நான் இதெல்லாம் பண்ணுறேன், சார் சொல்கிறாரு you should have a POC. I have a proof of concept. I understand this will definitely give me a margin. I understand what is my OPEX. பெருசாக தெரியாட்டியும் I know what is my fixed cost. I know what is my variable cost. I am definitely making cash profit. சடனாக வந்து கொடுக்க வேண்டியவங்க கொடுக்கல. And this has happened to all of us. I am running business for 30 years. I am so strong in finance, but still I have gone bust many times, because it is an external aspect and you are dealing across the country. இது எப்படி மேனேஜ் பண்ணீங்க? Is it possible? Or what all you should be a precaution for this?
First of all, what sir has told is very, very important. But I must share a personal experience, because when I started my business, our family business was under severe turmoil. So I never had an opportunity to go and ask for money from anybody. So literally I started with nothing. I had, I think, a couple of 20,000 bucks. That's it. So I started my company in 100 square feet office area with just one employee, and that's me. That's when I started. So capital is 25,000. And I decided that I don't take the car from my house. So my friend was running a two-wheeler hire purchase. I went and took a bike, because I need to mobile on. So there I had started with a commitment of paying my EMI. Now, so seriousness of maintaining your cash flow came from day one. So I was the first employee. I had to go around, try to, I had a vision. I wanted to specialize in industrial food processing automation. I was very clear from day one, and today I am there. I built my business based on my vision. So I was very clear on what I wanted to do. But my business is a very highly capital driven business. So at that time I don't have capital. So the idea was to build capital. So it took for me 10 years. From 1997 when I started to almost 2007, 2008, it was a very, very tough phase. But நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி I've gone through all the struggles. What I would want to tell my friends out here is financial discipline is extremely important. So you cannot be taught. It doesn't come on books. You need to define it yourself. Discipline is very simple. You don't take out things and spend for unwanted things, unwanted expenses. Very simple. You know where to put your money in, for what is the purpose. You need to pay your debtors on time, your employees on time, and then you put your salaries or thing as liability, and you have to cover it up at some stage. But first, your most important expenses have to be met. If you cannot do that, just don't get into business. If you don't have clarity, and if you want to get into a business telling that I want to take a loan, I'm not in for that. Profits is only an opinion. You can tell, profit but cash is the real king. I can tell I made 30% of profit, 40% profit. But if you look at the profit, there is a lot of expenses, factors out of the profit. That is an opinion. But the reality is what? Cash. Ultimately, what is there in net and net after all your expenses? That is the real cash. You need to build on that. And if you don't build on that, and you just work on a notional profit value, I mean, as sir told, Swiggy and all these companies, they're all, a lot of notional factors are there. the reality is something different. So a shopkeeper's business philosophy is always the best philosophy. Anachi kada. The Anachi kada philosophy, if you are able to follow that on the corporate level, they are very deep rooted. The Marwadi business, that style of business, deep rooted, it will survive forever. Today, what you see is everybody wants to borrow. Equity is very expensive. Go borrow at what rate of interest? And as Sir rightly told, it comes with so many other baggages. I don't think it's a wise thing. Everybody wants to become a millionaire overnight. It's next to impossible. And most of them burst. There are some few people who make billions, but that cannot be taken as an example. The reality is completely different. Survival, how long you are able to sustain and survive, that's the most important thing. And not necessarily that you need to be the top of the globe always. You have to be what you really want. So discipline, financial discipline is extremely important. And if you're not there, I mean, no business is going to survive.
Great. I think that is very, very important. Like, I'm just able to recollect the first 10 years. It was about how you sustain, how you really manage it. And it is not about, நீங்கள் சொல்கிற அந்த விஷயம் ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். ஒரு பாட்டில் வந்து பணக்காரன்லாம் ஆக முடியாது, படத்தில் தான் ஆக முடியும். அப்படியெல்லாம் வந்து ஸோ ரஜினிகாந்த் ஆகலாம், ஆனால் நாம் ஆக முடியுமா அப்படின்னு சொன்னால் இட் பி 1 in 1000. ஸோ வெரி ப்ராக்டிக்கலி இட் இஸ் ஹவு யூ பில்ட், புட் தட் concrete and put the base for the first 6-7 years, and I think that is common for any business enterprise to do.
Anything works on slow and steady only.
Slow and steady.
Fast rise. As Sir rightly told, this startups. Every day I hear a startup. I know one person comes after 3 years and says he's a startup. The very definition of startup.
இல்லை இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஒரு மணி செமினார் இந்த மாதிரி கேட்குறப்போ ஒருத்தர் வந்து சொன்னார், நீங்கள் பிஸ்னஸ் வந்து 22 வருஷம் பண்ணுறீங்கன்னு சொல்கிறீங்க, வெக்கமா இல்லையான்னு கேட்டார். எனக்கு இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீட்பேக்காக வந்ததில்லை. 22 வருஷம் பண்ணுறீங்க, நல்லது தானே, ஐம் 30 years into it. He said, you should have sold your business. And he said, what do I do? Start another and do what? Sell that. அது பதில் நான் இருக்கிறதே பண்ணிட்டு போகிறேனே அப்படிங்கிறது பார்க்குறப்போ, I know the competence what you build over 30 years is totally different. சார், பட் இந்த 2 விஷயம் நீங்கள் சொல்கிறப்போ இன்னும் ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டான ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட் சொன்னப்போ எனக்கு தோணுது, லாஸ்ட் இயரோட லோன் க்ரோத் RBI ஸ்டாட்டிஸ்டிக்ஸ் சொல்லுது, in terms of numbers, happens to be on personal loan, pure numbers. And adula, it is personal loan not for a home improvement, but for a holiday, but for buying iPhone. I think you have spoken so much on it. I think this is the time we all understand what is this loan for, what is the end utilization, and eventually this loan has to repay for itself. Adu pathi unga thoughts enna sir? Neenga neriya pesirukeenga, idu definitely idu pathi jaasti sollanum.
Most of the most successful companies in the world have started with zero capital. Whether it is Apple or whether it is Google or whether it is Facebook, or all started with zero capital.
Okay.
So don't give me that you need capital to start business.
Okay.
So you don't need capital to start a business.
Okay.
You need capital to trade. You need
capital to trade. Okay.
You need capital to manufacture. You don't need capital to start a business. A business is an idea, right? And an idea whose time has come, like Victor Hugo said and Manmohan Singh said in 1991, an idea whose time has come, nobody can stop an idea whose time has come. Google's idea came, nobody could stop it. Apple's ideas came, nobody could stop it. So whether you have a unique idea or not is the first step. Most businesses suffer because you're a Me Too business. Somebody is doing it, I'm also doing it. That fellow has a tea shop, I am also starting a tea shop. Amazon succeeded. Amazon will not be allowed into India for some time. So Flipkart came. So you don't have any original ideas, right? So first step. Second step, this consumption boom that has come means that you don't want to wait for gratification. You want
Instant gratification.
If I can buy an iPhone today, and why should I wait for 3 years to buy an iPhone? But since I talk a lot about gold and a lot of people talk about it, just go home and do the explanation, work out. Somebody who bought an iPhone on a 3-year finance, starting date till yesterday, if you had put that EMI in gold, what would be the cost you will have today? And what was the cost of your iPhone?
ஒரு 4 iPhone கிடைச்சிருக்குமா சார் அதுக்கு?
Easily you will get more.
Okay.
So And I also talk about people buying a house on EMI, you're doing with gold. Now, people think gold is the supreme because gold is doing very well now. Had you put Google in 2003-4 when Google went public, less than $10,000, today you will have $1.5 million. So if you were invested in a right company and been patient for 10-15 years, you will make much more than what you have made today in gold. So gold is not the only answer. Like that, there are hundreds of companies, I can keep giving you names, which will beat gold. The idea is this, is when you have, first and foremost, when you buy something on loan, you are mortgaging your future earnings.
Hmm.
The bank is the owner of your earnings. It's as good as slavery. கடைசி எனக்கு 1 லட்ச ரூபா சம்பளம் வருது, 10,000 ரூபாவை நான் வந்து HDFC பேங்குக்கு கொடுத்துட்டேன். நான் 1 லட்ச ரூபாய் சம்பளம் வாங்கினேன், ஹவுசிங் லோன் EMI வாங்கினேன். You think you own the house. You don't own the house. The house is owned by the bank. You have not seen the document writing. You have pledged your whole life and soul to the bank. You are paying 50,000 rupees to the bank. For next 20 years, 50% of your earnings is sold to the bank. You think prices are going to go up. Let me give you this shock. In major Indian cities, especially I know two in Madras, in where prominent areas people have bought flats, from 2012 till today, prices have not gone up. So if you take interest plus capital they have paid, they would lose money through that. But they won't believe it. So I simply to try this. If you had bought gold or ITC or some company, or every EMI you have paid over the last 10 years, and you compare the house honestly with what is available in the market price and what that capital would have been, you will never, nothing you buy on loan will be more valuable. Because call me 20, pay me 40, the bank will take 10 to 12%. On a house with in the fee and the fee, compulsory insurance, if you calculate everything, it will be 10 to 11%. If you go and take out the unsecured loan, they will charge you 15-16%. There is no business which is going to give you 24% return. IRR over next 20 years is very difficult, unless you are the first of the block, normal business. So your salary will not go as, why, your answer to your question, why loans are going. Salary, there is no salary growth. In the last 5 years, unless somebody radically has done well and their salary has, they have jumped 3-4 levels in their job, which not everybody can do. Salaries have grown at an average of 4 to 5%.
That's what the 5% ಅದು
Yeah, so that is what the annual HR survey is saying, is 4 or 5%. And obviously, though the government thinks otherwise, inflation is much higher than the salary price. The gap is made by your loans.
சார் இப்போ ஆக்சுவலி இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டைமில் ஒரு ஆண்டர்பனராக ஒரு பெரிய கேள்வி வருது. இப்போ ஆனந்த் ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார் மாதிரி இருக்கிறவங்க என்ன பார்க்குறாங்க, நல்ல கம்பெனி, அதோட ஃபினான்ஷியல்ஸு, டெக்னிக்கல்ஸு, ஃபண்டமெண்டல்ஸ் எல்லாம் அனலைஸ் பண்ணிவிட்டு பணம் போட்டுட்டு ஜாலியாக சம்பாரிச்சிட்டு இருக்காங்க. காலையில் டிவியில் பேசிகிட்டு இருக்காரு. நீங்கள் நல்லா பயங்கர கஷ்டப்பட்டுட்டு இருக்கோம். என்ன சார் பண்ணுறது?
I'll tell you the difference.
No, first let him tell, sir. Then I want to hear from you. Because at times எனக்கு வந்து ஒரு டைம் பொறாமையாக இருக்கும். ஆனந்த் ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார் மாதிரி பேசலான்னு வந்து சண்டே யோசிப்பேன், மண்டே காலையில் ஆஃபீஸ்க்கு போகணும் இல்லையா? ஸோ யூ ஹேவ் சம்திங் ஆஸ் அ கைண்ட் ஆஃப் அ கமிட்மெண்ட். பட் சி ரைட் ஃப்ரம் வாரன் பூஃபே ஆர் பாசிபிளி நம்ம வாரன் பூஃபே, ஆனந்த் ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் சார் மாதிரிலாம் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க, தே ஆர் ஏபிள் டு ஐடென்டிஃபை வாட் ஒர்க்ஸ். அண்ட் திஸ் இஸ் த மேஜர் பாயிண்ட். My business is not making 24%. Someone is making 24% return on capital employed. Go invest there. Be shameless. Go ahead and invest. So what is so special about entrepreneurship, and why should you put so much soul, effort, energy into it?
For me, a person like me, it's passion. I love what I'm doing. I'm not greedy.
Okay.
So one needs to know what you want. Why you need 24%? You're happy with 15%, 16%. Okay, so you define what you really want. You need an Anand Srinivasan, you need a Satish, you need yourself. You need a mix of all of us for the ecosystem to survive.
Yes, we now only investors.
See, I'm also an investor. I don't put all the eggs in one basket.
Uh-huh.
So I at any time believe in my business.
Okay.
I know where my product is. I know where to invest. I believe in myself. Then there is a little thing that okay, you put in a little bit there, you put in a little.
So what we
I'm
call
a
as
person with a very low
diversification
debt.
Okay.
I mean, I don't believe in debt. So whatever I buy, if I have money, if I think I can buy a Mercedes paying X amount of money, I will not take a loan. I will buy it. Maybe I will have my mutual fund planned for it in advance.
Okay.
That's how I've grown up myself.
Okay.
So I'm with sir, so I don't go with loans.
Okay.
If you have the capacity to buy a house with your own money, buy it. So as long I don't want bank to own my property. That's how I've grown. But to come there, financial discipline is extremely important. So that again, one needs to really build it on themselves. So you need to identify the right company. You need to work with your brain, right?
Correct.
படிக்கணும் கம்பெனிஸை
Or
பற்றி
possibly
படிக்கணும்.
take a loan of the brain. அவ்வளோதானே. ஸோ அது இருக்கு. ஸோ இது ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டண்ட்டான பாயிண்ட் சதீஷ் சார் சொல்றது. எதுக்கு நான் 24%, if I'm happy with 15%, provided I do something with passion. Sir, உங்கள் தாட்ஸ்.
Nobody sits at home doing nothing.
No, I'm not telling you I'm not doing nothing.
Listen, what I'm trying to say.
It looks so glorified from this end of the...
Because you don't have to read 400 pages a day. I have to read 400
You have to
pages
read
a day.
400 pages a day. Okay.
So I have to read 400 pages a day, and I have to be right every day on television. If you are wrong, you can make a correction and get it away. 1.2 million people see me every day. So if I get something wrong, next day nobody is going to see me.
Okay.
If I say something wrong today at 7 o'clock, next day morning evening, my viewership will drop to 0.
Okay.
Right? So next day nobody will come. The point is this. Everybody needs a cash flow to run their family. Once the pressure comes, as long as you don't have the cash flow to run the family. If your cash flow of running the family and business are two independent things, then there is no pressure in running any business.
Okay.
The problem is your company is not well funded. At the same time, you have to fund your
Family and
at the third same time, you want to expand. So you want to do three things at the same time like a juggler. You want to use the same money to take care of your family. You want to run your business. And at the same time, you want to grow. But there's only so many times you can turn capital around. You have X amount of capital. I can turn it 20 times. How efficient you are is depending on how many turns your working capital takes. If you have 10 lakhs and turn it 100 times, then 10 lakhs into 100 is the turnover, a percentage comes. The problem in business is you want to give 90 days credit. If you give 90 days credit, your capital will turn only 4 times.
Correct.
So you will take credit from somebody else. So he will increase his price. Buying on cash is different from buying on margin credit. So how many turns, if you want to ask exactly, how many turns in a year is your working capital doing? When can you borrow money? You can borrow money when without increasing other costs. I can turn that capital also faster than interest rates. Suppose I can turn my capital 40 times and make 10% margin money. I take 10 lakhs from the bank into 40. So how much is it? So it's 10 lakh, 1 crore, 4 crores.
Yes.
I make 10 crores, 4% is 40 crores. I have borrowed 10 lakhs. I'm going to pay the bank 2 lakhs at 20%. But I have turned it 40 times and made 40 lakhs. That's when you borrow money. That's working capital. But the problem is, the moment you give 3 months credit, you are paying interest for him. You are his financier. Why am I taking 3 months credit for you? Because I can't pay. If I can't pay, you are financing me. So you have to understand the difference, whether you are financing your customer or whether you are running a business. If you are running a business, you are running your business. It's not your job to find finance for your customer. நான் 3 மாதம் கிரெடிட் கொடுப்பேன்னா 3 மாதம் அவன் ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் நீ ஃபண்ட் பண்ணுற. Why should you do it? That's not your job. That means you are not the perfect idea. A perfect idea is that I don't finance as working capital.
Perfectly right. In
And
fact, like when I
in
yeah.
example, I was asking my friend today, I came from Tirupur today. I had to make an appearance in a book fair, so I came back from Tirupur. My only big complaint about Tirupur always has been, Tirupur has never built a big brand. The biggest brand is poppies. அந்த திருப்பூரில் சென்டரில் 4 மாடிக்கு ஸ்டூடியோ பிராண்ட் போட்டிருந்தார் நியூல் டாட்டா. இதோட லாஜிக் பாருங்கள், உங்கள்கிட்ட இருந்து 90 நான் என் ஃப்ரெண்ட்டை கேட்டேன், அவர் காஸ்ட் ஆஃப் சோர்சிங் எவ்வளோ இருக்குன்னு. 120 ரூபாய்க்கு வாங்குவார் சார்னார். 120 rupees he will buy the garment. He is selling at 299. His company was valued at 120 times earnings. Is today at 50% correction, is turned at 50 times earnings. He is buying from your own city at 120 and selling it to you at 229. It is only working capital terms. He'll pay you cash.
இது ஒரு பியூட்டிஃபுல் கான்செப்ட் இல்லையா? நம்ம ஊர்ல நம்ம கிட்டே பணம் வாங்கிட்டு நமக்கே வந்து விற்கிறாங்க.
ஆமா, நீங்க திருப்பூர்ல போய் பாருங்களேன், மெயின் ரோட்ல ஸ்டூடியோ எவ்வளவு பெரிய ஸ்டோர் இருக்குன்னு. திருப்பூர்ல பண்ண மெட்டீரியல் 100% மார்ஜின்ல திருப்பூர்காரங்க வித்துட்டு இருக்காங்க.
Okay, so I know like time is very short. We had lot of interaction, sir. Possibly to wrap it up, I possibly have few rapid fire. Just keep it very very brief. We just want to have your insight about what you just think on one single word which I am telling. What do you feel, and what as an entrepreneur, not as an investor, other things, entrepreneur, we need to be possibly every question you can answer first, sir will answer the second. So start. Okay, first is money.
It's the most lucrative, dangerous component.
Okay,
It's a unit of measure, that's it.
unit of measure. Super. Investments.
Safeguarding.
Okay,
Investment is putting your excess labor to work.
sorry,
Excess labor to work.
excess labor to work. Super. Holiday.
What?
Relieving your stress.
Holiday.
Relieving your stress.
Relieving.
Holidaying is you have time to spare again.
Time to spare. Work life balance.
Work-life balance. For me, it's enjoying my work. So I balance my work. I enjoy my work with family, and it's all balanced together.
Okay,
If you really enjoy what you do, there is no work-life balance at all.
super.
Work-life balance comes when you enjoy. You don't enjoy what you do.
Super. Retirement.
As an entrepreneur, I never retire.
I don't believe in the concept of retirement.
Future prediction.
About
Future prediction. Your prediction about future.
it is as good as what you visualize.
We have a tendency to glorify the past. But you have to understand, 50 years ago, the Maharaja of Mysore wouldn't have the kind of plumbing facility that you have today, the kind of toilets that a common man enjoys today. But the Maharaja of Mysore wouldn't have done it. You have to understand that 100 years back, there was, except penicillin, there was no other antibiotic. So the next 100 years, we'll do a lot more better things.
Super. That is a great note to end. Future is definitely better than the present. Thank you, both of you, and thank you, BNI.